So, you watched Neon Genesis Evangelion once, you think Attack on Titan is peak fiction, and now you consider yourself an anime elitist. That's cute. But let's be brutally honest. If you want to actually flex on your friends and win the ultimate anime pissing contest, you need to dig deeper, way deeper. Today, I'm giving you 10 absolute niche masterpieces that will give you the ultimate bragging rights. But before we start, a quick, honorable mention. My favorite anime of all time, Serial Experiments Lain. Now, a few years ago, this would have been #1 on this list. But thanks to TikTok, half the internet now has a Lane profile picture without even understanding what The Wired is. It's a masterpiece. I love it to death, but it's too famous for this list now. If Lane didn't even make the cut, you know we're about to get into the real obscure stuff. Let's dive in. 10. Sunny Boy 2021. We are starting with something recent, but completely unhinged. Sunny Boy is about 36 high school students who suddenly find themselves and their school adrift in an endless void of alternate dimensions. The laws of physics change in every episode. Sometimes time flows backward, sometimes monkeys play baseball to decide the fate of the universe. It is a surreal, beautifully animated exploration of growing up. And the best part? When you finish it, you get to casually drop in conversation that you completely understood its heavy philosophical themes about the paralyzing fear of the future, without ever having to search for a 40-minute explanation video on YouTube. You just get it. 9. Now and Then, Here and There, 1999. You want a real flex? Ask your friends what their favorite isekai anime is. They'll probably say Sword Art Online, Mushoku Tensei, or some show about being reincarnated as a vending machine. Let them talk. Then you hit them with this 1999 forgotten masterpiece. It starts like a classic, innocent adventure where a boy gets transported to another world. But there are no cheat skills, no magic stats, and no harems here. Instead, he gets immediately drafted into an army of child soldiers in a dying, dystopian desert ruled by a deranged fascist dictator. It is a brutal, uncompromising, soul-crushing exploration of war crimes, survival, and the absolute loss of innocence. You get to completely destroy the modern isekai genre by calmly stating that you prefer the 1999 isekai that acts as a devastating, realistic documentary on human cruelty. 8. Mononoke 2007. No, not the Studio Ghibli movie. This is a 12-episode psychological horror masterpiece following a nameless medicine seller who travels across feudal Japan exorcising evil spirits, but he can only draw his sword after learning the spirit's form, truth, and reason. This is how you destroy anyone who thinks modern anime has the best animation. You just look them in the eye and say your favorite psychological horror intentionally looks like a 17th century ukiyo-e museum exhibit painted on rice paper, while theirs is just cheap jump scares and blood. 7. Kaiba 2008. This one is the ultimate trap. Directed by Masaki Yuasa, you look at Kaiba and think, oh, this looks like Astro Boy or a cute 1930s Disney cartoon. Wrong. It is a soul-crushing cyberpunk dystopia where memories can be digitized. The rich buy the bodies of the poor to live forever, while the poor sell their own memories just to buy food. You show this to your friends, let them think it's a cute kids show, and then you get to look down on them from your intellectual high ground because you are emotionally intelligent enough to see the horrifying, existential dread hiding behind a cartoonish aesthetic. 6. Genkutsuwu, The Count of Monte Cristo, 2004. How do you adapt an 1844 classic French revenge novel? By putting it in the year 5053, adding mecha battles, vampires, and an art style that will break your brain. In Genkutsuwu, the clothing and hair of the characters aren't colored in. They are filled with static 2D textures that stay perfectly still while the characters move over them. This is for when you want to sound ridiculously cultured. Oh, what am I watching? Just a retro-futuristic adaptation of 19th century French literature. animated with experimental techniques that would give normal people a migraine. Instant superiority. 5. Haibane Renmei, 2002. Created by Yoshitoshi Abe, yes, the same guy who did Line. This starts as a peaceful slice-of-life anime about girls with halos and wings living in a quiet, walled city. But slowly, the dread creeps in as you realize nobody knows how they got there, and nobody is allowed to leave. It's the perfect show to prove that beneath your cynical, elitist exterior beats a heart capable of appreciating the most delicate, melancholic art. You don't just watch anime, you process heavy, respectful allegories about purgatory, guilt, and the desperate search for forgiveness. 4. The Tatami Galaxy, 2010. A nameless college student gets trapped in a time loop, constantly reliving his first 2 years of university, desperately trying to find the perfect, rose-colored campus life and failing every single time. It's a brilliant look at how we ruin our own lives by chasing perfection. But here is the catch. The protagonist narrates his inner thoughts at Mach 3. This means you get to flex that you can speed read subtitles at 300 words per minute without blinking, all while absorbing top-tier avant-garde animation. 3. Textualize, 2003. All right, we are in the deep end now. Set in the crumbling, violent underground city of Lux, it follows a prizefighter who gets his limbs amputated and replaced with cybernetics. The first episode has basically zero dialogue. If anyone ever tries to tell you anime is just for kids, you hit them with this. You get to smugly announce that you survived the most soul-crushing, bleak, nihilistic viewing experience in anime history, and you actually understood its poetic mastery instead of just staring blankly at the wall. 2. Angel's Egg / Tenshi no Tamago, 1985. Technically an OVA movie, but it is the absolute king of bragging rights. Directed by Mamoru Oshii, with art by Yoshitaka Amano. A little girl wanders through a dead, gothic, biomechanical world carrying a giant egg. There is almost zero dialogue in its 70-minute runtime. It is pure, unfiltered visual symbolism about the loss of faith. You don't need a linear plot. You can watch an hour of a girl walking in silence and confidently recognize it as the absolute pinnacle of human artistry. 1. Legend of the Galactic Heroes, 1988. And finally, the final boss. This isn't an anime, it's a 110-episode historical documentary about a war that never happened. No teenagers with magic powers, no tournament arcs. Just purely brilliant adults engaging in massive space fleet battles and deep philosophical debates about whether a corrupt democracy is better than a benevolent dictatorship. If you finish this, you win the anime community. While everyone else is arguing about shonen power scales, you get to casually mention that you've been studying intergalactic military tactics and geopolitical maneuvering. You are legally allowed to look down on everyone else's taste. So, how many of these have you actually seen? Be honest. Drop your number in the comments below. If your number is 0, you have some homework to do. If your number is 10, congratulations. You are officially insufferable, and we would probably be great friends. Leave a like, subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive, and I'll see you in the next one.